inviting me here. Christmas is not about when Jesus was born, but it's all about why Jesus was born, right? It's all about why he was born. Let me start my talk with a true story. Have you heard of George Harley? He went to the Manu tribe of Liberia as a medical missionary. So he and his wife went there. The day they arrived, his wife got a child. His name was Robert. For 5 years, no one came to his place. It looked as though he went there. His mission was waste. They were very upset. And one day, this boy, Robert, got a fever. And whatever medicines he tried, the fever went on increasing. And finally, one day the fever took his life. He was the only son for the parents. So the father put the son in a coffin, put the lid on it, and took the coffin on his shoulders and started to walk to dig a grave for that child. And an old man from the Mano tribe, he came nearby and he asked what it is. He said it's his son. And then the man helped him to carry the coffin, and then both of them went and dug the grave. And then after keeping that boy inside, he just broke down 8,000 miles away in that place, alone, all alone. He just broke down. He cried and cried. And this old man looked at him, looked at his tears, just he was looking for a long time, very intently. And then suddenly he started to run inside the village. He shouted, white man, he's crying like us. He's crying like us. He went back home. In that evening, he and his wife were crying, and suddenly there was a tap on the door. And to their amazement, the whole village was there. Every man, every woman were there at that time. So they opened and they wanted to hear about Jesus, the God of Dr. Harley. So Dr. Harley spoke about God, and next Sunday they came. Every Sunday they came. They wanted to know more and more. And then his medical mission started. In 1 year, he was taking care of 10,000 patients. And thus it grew. But what changed everything? What changed is the tears of the missionary. Yes, he was one like them. That's what God did. He left everything and he came down to become one like us. Right? What an amazing thing. It's amazing. Actually, we will not understand this particular mystery. It's a mystery. The God who created 2 trillion galaxies became human to show us that he can cry. He can feel like us. And Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus. Jesus wept over Jerusalem. And Jesus could run on the stormy sea to take care of his friends who were about to die in the storm. And he made Peter to walk like him. This Jesus, he wanted to show that he is human and he has the same feelings like you and me. Look at Jesus. He ran after the Samaritan woman who was 5 times rejected. Look at Jesus. When he went in the defense of the adulterous woman, that is God Jesus. He came down to show that he knows the burden of our hearts. When you are in pain and crying out, does God know about my pain and struggle? Just look at a baby on the manger and a God on the cross. He could have come as a shining light or a devouring fire or a whirlwind, but he chose to come as a helpless baby on the manger. He chose to come. It is his choice. He could have come in a palace. He could have come to born in a big temple. But he came in a stable among the cows and the sheep. He was there. He came to the rejected. The shepherds were wondering if God would ever care for them. And an angel came and said, God cared. He's there, he's come, he's in the manger. That is our God whom we serve. People have always wondered about the image of God. Tribes have always speculated what God will be. He's an angry, he's a violent one. He might not be able to understand me. He's far away, he's deistic God. He's a man, so I have to appease him. I have to do a lot of sacrifice for him. That's what people have been wondering for years. But have you ever wondered or imagined that there will be a God who will come as a little helpless baby on a manger? That's amazing. This is a mystery. This mystery is much greater than any of the Latha Christie novels. This is an unfathomable mystery. The God who brought the whole creation, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, who has forever dwelt in beauty and unapproachable light, stepped out of the grave to enter this puny little planet. And that is amazing. And that's an unfathomable mystery. The limited capacity of a human brain cannot understand that mystery. As we unpack this cosmic importance, we see a lot of implications. For the last 5 years, I was working on science and religion. What made me to understand God more, because when I started writing about science, it showed me God whom I serve is beyond my wildest imaginations, beyond my wildest dreams. Let me take you into a trip into the universe, just a small trip. See, we are in a Milky Way galaxy, right? So, this Milky Way consists of not a million, it consists of billions of stars. That's why Isaiah says, who is my equal? Who can you compare me? Lift your eyes and see. Look up at the stars. One by one you count, not one of them will miss. That's what God says. And the Bible says He has created everything by the word of His mouth. He said in the beginning, when God said, light came. When God said, everything came. And the Milky Way galaxy is the galaxy where our solar system is located. You have to go from one end to the other end of the galaxy. You need 100,000 years if you travel at the speed of light. So what is the speed of light? It is 6 trillion miles. And with the speed of light, if you want to travel the Earth, you can travel in 1 second 6 times. So that is the speed of light. So now you just think that Milky Way is too huge. More massive galaxies are there, and we have around 2 trillion galaxies. These 2 trillion galaxies are there in the observable universe. In just the universe that we can look at, where our scientists have understood, there are things that are much massive than the observable universe which are still there. And I don't feel we'll ever be able to find, because the light from those places will never reach us, because the universe is expanding at an unfathomable rate. And at the start, even Stephen Hawking said that at the start of the expansion, if the universe would have expanded a little smaller, 1 trillion times smaller, the whole universe would have crumbled. But what made it to expand at an exact critical expansion rate? Who has fixed it? Who has designed it? If God can design that, will He not design our life? If God can do that so beautifully, will He not make our life so beautiful? That's what, when I was in depression, it gave me hope. It gave me hope that I am serving a God who is too great, who is too awesome. How can you stand the distance between a mighty God and a helpless baby on the manger? Just the realization of the fact that the universe is so great is overwhelming. But to understand that this God loves us is exciting, right? And this Christmas story is astonishingly outrageous. But it's true. It's mind-boggling. That's what I think when the little baby was on Mary's hand. She would have touched the baby. She would have looked into the eyes and said, this is God. This is God. That's what John said in 1 John 1:1. The God who was in the beginning, we touched. We touched with our own hands. We looked with our own eyes. We heard with our own ears. That's what John said. They're not able to understand this mystery. When John understood that 3.5 years he was with a man, was not a man. He is God. That's what John understood. This is God. This God can be trusted. They understood. Now if it is God, I can trust anything with it. In the small span of Jesus' life, 300 prophecies that were told about Him. 700 years before. Everything was exactly fulfilled. That's amazing, right? So, behold, a virgin, you will conceive, and she will bear a son. Micah was so inspired that he even pinpointed the exact village where Jesus would be born, right? Bethlehem, out of you, a big, great Messiah will come. And Isaiah's prophecy is so breathtaking. So his prophecies are transcendent. He said the eternal God who existed forever, a son was given and a child was born. So he was distinguishing. This is a child which is born, is a son who existed forever. He's a mighty God. He's the everlasting Father. He's a Prince of Peace. And he's a wonderful counselor. What a mighty God we serve. Eternal God came down to tell us that He wants to live with us. That's why we call Him Emmanuel, God with us. He wants to be with us. That's why He said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you. Whatever happens, I'm not going to leave you. So in Hebrews 13 chapter verse 5 it says that He's never going to leave. It means that you do not have to fear. In Bible there are more than 300 fear nots. If God is with us, why should we fear? That's why shepherds, the angels said, don't fear. Maybe the angels said, don't fear. Today, are you fearing might be your business, something is going down, or are you in the crossroads, something? Just look at all the promises. Every promise came true. Every promise is yes and amen in Christ Jesus. So that is the realization. Today you can realize this mystery. That's a realization that God who created everything, who did my DNA, 3.1 billion bits of data is there in a small tiny dot. Can anyone design that way? And each DNA is different. Even the identical twins does not have the same DNA. So that means what a designer he is. That's why Bible says if a person can tell there is no God, he's a fool. Because when you look at the DNA, when you look at the universe, you see God. You look at the nature. That realization that this God knows everything about me. That's what David said. Psalm 129. Because, O Lord, you know everything. When I get up, you are there. When I sit down, you are there. When I go up, you are there. When I go even to Sheol, you are there. Even before the thoughts come out of my mouth, you know it all together. That is the realization. That's the burning bush moment. It's terrifying sometimes. It's paradoxical. It gives us happiness, but it's also ugly because it was that moment when Jesus looked at Judas and said, Judas, you will be betraying me. He knows everything. And that was a moment when you realize that this God, there is no need to act. We cannot impress Him. People impress in the workplace and they try to push down others, right? But you can never impress God. He knows everything, but still He loves us. He knows the minutest, every mistake we have done, every pain we have undergone. That's why when we realize that, we will be having this burning bush moment when Moses said, here I am, Lord, here I am. Whatever you want, I'm ready to do. Whatever you say. You know my faults, you know my sins, you know my peculiarities, you know the pains I have gone through, but you will be with me. That is enough. So that is the greatest thing. A child born in a manger is our only hope. And that's why C.S. Lewis says, the coming of Christ by way of Bethlehem manger is looking sometimes strange. But when we take Him out of the manger and invite Him into our hearts, it is amazing. The strangeness goes and we feel the meaning is unfolding. Even in the midst of the horror, when we cannot believe that something good will come out of us, of that situation, when our expectations go unmet, Bible clearly says you can trust in His character. He is trustworthy. Then that's why this is an amazing psalm given in Asaph. How many of you heard of Asaph? There are 12 psalms attributed to him. He was a worship leader, he was a prophet, he was everything. But in Psalm 73, 16 to 17, you can read the most important thing. The Asaph said, this is what the wicked are like. Always free of care, they increase greatly. But in vain I kept my heart pure. I washed my hands in innocence. But I have been afflicted. Every morning it brings me problem. So he was looking at the wicked and he was stumbling. What's happening, God? The wicked is prospering. But I am unnecessarily keeping my heart pure. I am unnecessarily keeping my mind innocent. What gain I have got, God? That's what he was telling. The worship leader is stumbling. It can happen in anybody's life. But then you look at the next line. Well, till I stumbled, till I enter the sanctuary, till I entered His presence, till I understood this mystery, till I knew that this God is amazing. He has come down to this much and He will do great things. And that's enough. That is the good news. The good news of grace, the power, the glory and greatness of God. That helps us. Even in my life, at one point, I was in pain. I was angry on God. I thought that God exists. He's like my stepfather. He doesn't answer my prayer for 20 long years. I was so angry on God. I had my fist against Him. I in a deathbed on a ventilator because of pneumonia. I heard His voice, I'm giving you new life 3 times. And all the 5 days I was there, I felt His presence. And then I came out. I have never read the Bible except Psalms, some few passages. I took it, the dirty one which I had kept in a corner. In 6 months I started to read and I understood as a God of excellence. And I could not finish my PhD for 5 years. I put a chair and I said, God, Holy Spirit, you told you will live with me and help me to finish. And Holy Spirit helped me to finish it. And then I did, as she read, I did a few other courses. And at one point God said, more than all these things, I have to be at His feet to know what He wants to speak. You know, every child of God should listen to His voice. Bible says, my sheep hears my voice. At every situation we run to pastors, we run to prophets. Are we running to the throne of God? Because He says, my sheep should hear my voice. If we silence our mind, He will speak. He has been speaking. He wants to speak. It's not a one monologue. Prayer is not a monologue. It is a dialogue. That's what He taught me. So this God who changed everything changed my life. And that's why Jesus, why He could change? He changed because He not only born as a baby on the manger. He said, I came to this world for this very purpose. I came to this world. What is the very purpose? Christmas cannot be separated from the cross. Yes, we never talk about the cross. Sometimes we just sing about jingle bells and others. But Christmas cannot be separated from the cross. And then Jesus Christ faced the cross on a hill called Calvary to bridge the gap of separation between you and me and the new God. So that day, that veil in the temple was torn from the top to the bottom. You know, all of us have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Everyone has sinned. If we say that I am without sin, then we are liars. So if we have a sinful nature, how can we hear God's voice? Only if somebody opens the door for us. That's what Jesus said. He carried His blood and He said, God, open the door for my children. I want them to be with us. I want them to have an intimate connection with us. That's what Jesus paved the way. 2,000 years before, if you see, just come with me to stand before the cross. Just look at the cross. Jesus was falsely accused. He was unfairly treated. He was stripped and He was sentenced to death. He was carrying a 100-pound cross and He was walking 650 yards with that cross. 1.5 to 2-inch nail went inside His head. That's why Isaiah says, His face was disfigured. It was so much disfigured that He cannot even consider as a human being. And He was so humiliated. The creation spat on His Creator. Can you imagine? He was on the cross and they mocked Him. When all the violence was poured upon Him, when all the humiliation was thrown upon Him, Jesus hung there. And He said, Father, Father, forgive them, for they are not knowing what they do. Forgiveness is all about Jesus. If we cannot forgive any of our offender with our own power, it's only because of the cross. So as we forgive, it's the power of cross, the power of Christ is revealed. If we only know what the cross can do, what the cross does, we will rise up and live for Him with power. Jesus allowed Himself to be vulnerable on the cross. And in that moment of vulnerability, power was unleashed. Power to forgive, power to forget, power to heal, power to remove every curse. That's why today if you are here, this is not a normal life. It's an extraordinary life to walk with the Creator. He said, walk with me. He loves to walk with you. That's what, it's not a normal walk. It's an amazing walk. He conquered evil. Not in spite of it. He conquered it through it. Since Jesus conquered evil, you too will conquer. That's what happened. I too could conquer. So in Jesus, our past is forgiven. Whatever sins you have done, the cross paved the way. And the future is secure. Once you die, you will be seeing Him face to face. So now past is forgiven and future is secure. What about the present? How would you get the present? It gives meaning, it gives purpose. So what's the purpose you are here? As ma'am said that we have a purpose to just be a shining light to someone. Jesus said, be the light of the world, be the salt of the earth. So before ending it, I want to just take you to only one concept and I want to finish it. That is the concept of the Bethlehem star. Everywhere you see any function without the star, it is not there. So let me read in Matthew 2, 9-11. They set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in its rising until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, and they knelt down and paid Him homage. Then opening their treasure chest, they offered Him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold represents the kingship, frankincense the priesthood, and myrrh the embalming balm that is signifying His death. So today, the other one is the star. When they remember, this is the star that brought us. If not for the star, I would have been here. If not God put the star in my life, the through three things would have told, I wouldn't have been here. I wanted to ask you one thing. Today, are you here by accident? No. How did that star die? Let's just have a little understanding more about the star. And some of the scientists and astronomers say that the Bethlehem star could be the comet or it can be an alignment of planets. In 5 BC, it has noticed that there was a comet which was seen. And in 3 BC, Venus and Jupiter were aligned. They met together. What do you mean by that? In your vantage point, they were close. But actually, they were not that close, but they came near from your vantage point. So they two looked very close. So they looked almost like a star. And why do they shine? Why do meteors shine? Because they take energy from the sun. The sun gives energy, and because of the sun, they shine. It was a special star. It was not like any other star. It was a special star God put it there. It was so special that He guided the wise men who brought the 3 gifts to the exact place where Jesus was there. So those stars are something different. So maybe some star has guided you to this place. You are not knowing about Jesus. Maybe it could be a parent, it could be a Sunday school teacher, or it could be a school teacher, or it could be a teacher like Anita. So someone could have guided. Who is that star? Today think about that star in your life. You were star-struck and you changed your course. You changed your trajectory and you came to Jesus. So today is the day you are supposed to think, who was that star in my life who brought me to Jesus? And what am I supposed to do? You are supposed to be the star in someone's life. Be the light of the world. Unless you become closer to Jesus, you cannot shine that light.
The meteors get closer to the sun, looked at the sun, took that energy, and then they showed there is no light on its own. We do not have any light on its own. We can shine light and we can keep the flavor, keep the incense, only if we are closer to God. Otherwise, we will not give the real Jesus to people. That's what many Christian religious leaders, if you see, from far out you look good, but if you go close, you don't like them because they haven't taken the energy from Jesus, they haven't taken the shining from Jesus. So you both be a supposed, it's not about a preacher, it's not about anybody in the workplace can be a star, anybody in the school can be a star, anybody in your wherever you are, in your house as a housewife, you can be a star to your children. Today I encourage each and every one of you, be a star in someone's life and show the path to the living God. How many are dying of suicide? Is there a God who cares for me? Why don't you be a star and guide them to a God who says that I love you with an everlasting love. Let's close our eyes and pray. Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you, Lord. Today someone is here, Lord, wondering, am I in this end place, dead line of my life, dead end of my life? Lord, today speak to them. And Lord, there is a great hope in you. Christ in us, the hope of glory. And Father, we give them into your hands. We give all who are here, Father, into your hands. Precious Lord, hold them, embrace them. And on this Christmas day, Father, you show that the great God, you're so amazing, you're so great, but still care to know about us, care to live with us, care to love us more. And Father, let's love you, let's fall in love with you. And Lord, let's hold your hand and walk with you. Let's learn to lean on your everlasting arms. And Father, let's take the light from you and shine to the world around. Let's be the star, Father. Make many of them who are here, Father. Let every one of them become the star of Bethlehem, who will guide people to the living God of the universe. We give you all the glory, honor, and praise. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
I request Mrs. Aripati and Mrs. Eleni to please come forward and also Mrs. Aripati, once of the customers.
Thank you, ma'am, for this issue. Get started. It brought up the spirit of Christmas as well as it kept us rooted in the field, working as a forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And as we come to the close of